My guest today is Jarrod Fritz. Jarrod has had 22 years in the health and wellness industry. He's not only a massage therapist with a focus to sports and postural correction, but he also has a certificate in personal training as well as sports nutrition. He's had experience with elite level sports organizations, including WWE, the United States Soccer Federation, and a trip in 2008 to the Beijing Olympics. Jarrod has developed a knowledge base to share with massage therapy community. This experience has allowed Jarrod to become an educator at the local level in the massage therapy program and then advancing to the American Massage Therapy Association in their sports massage department. In addition to his passion for massage therapy and helping others, Jarrod enjoys spending time with his wife and cats, training and competing as a strongman, as well as regularly participating in professional wrestling as a referee. This was a really fun interview to do. I met Jarrod at the AMTA conference when Christine and I went to Tampa and really enjoyed being part of one of his professionalism workshops, as well as just getting to know him in a couple of other trainings as well. So very excited to bring this interview with you, and I trust that you enjoy what you hear.
All right.
Jarrod, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to be able to chat with you today. I first met you in Tampa, Florida at the AMTA conference where it was really, really hot. And I think it was like the middle of the night for me, and watched a couple of sessions and attended one of your sessions. So very excited that you have joined us here on the podcast. Whereabouts are you based and what time zone is it for you?
So Eastern Standard Time, Charleston, South Carolina, or at least just north of Charleston, South Carolina. That's the easiest, most popular town that people know in South Carolina. So that's where I'm based out of pretty much my whole entire life.
Amazing. You have combined a very unique skill set in terms of being able to bring wrestling and bodywork together. Tell us a little bit about your journey into the bodywork space, and then we'll get into how you got into the wrestling space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I joke all the time with all of my students that I became a massage therapist totally by accident. Had no intentions, no idea what the hell massage therapy was at the time that it was presented to me, more than what you saw on TV with candles and oils and stuff like that. I graduated high school and I took about a year off because I just wanted to see what it was like to be a grown adult and, do the adult thing. And I didn't like it all that much, but I knew that I wanted to get involved with healthcare. So I started out in prereqs for medical. What it was going to be, I don't know. I originally had intentions on wanting to be a pediatrician because I wanted to help children, but then realized I also didn't want to go to school for another 20 plus years or however long it was going to take to do that. So my focus began more towards nursing, and then it translated over to physical therapy assistant. All the prereqs were the same. What I didn't realize is that when I switched my attention from nursing to doing the PTA program, that you had to get volunteer hours. So I did all of my prereqs, applied to be in the program, and they said, "You're missing volunteer hours." Okay, how many do I have to do? Well, I had to do 40 in a matter of 6 days, and that wasn't going to work. So I told them that I can't just sit around and do nothing. And they had suggested doing the massage therapy program because it kind of partnered up with the PTA program. And they said, worst comes to worst, massage therapy will help the physical therapy work that you'd be doing in the long run. So in a very condescending way, I said, oh, they have classes for that. Because again, I didn't know anything more than what you saw on TV with oils and candles. And they said, no, actually, the guy who runs the program is an athletic trainer. He's a former EMT. He's very skilled in how the body works, biomechanics, things of that nature. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do the prereqs for that, see if I get accepted into the program. And I did. When I got in the program, I was blown away right from the get just to realize that there was so much that was going to be involved in it. It wiped the smirk off my face as far as that condescending remark. I was like, oh, my bad. Can I go back and take that back? And one thing that I noticed very quickly as we started transitioning through the classes is it just made sense. And all of the posture, the stroke method, anything like that became very, very easy to me. And so much so that the instructors were pointing it out like, wow, you're really getting a hold of this. To which, I passed the class. The only problems I ever had with was memorizing origin, insertion, whatnot. which I think everybody has a problem with that. But yeah, so it came very innately for me. And we had about 2 weeks left of clinicals. And two of the gentlemen that were my instructors were running a business in Charleston, and they offered me a job before I even graduated. So I decided to give it a shot. And I said, I'm going to try this for a year, see how it does. And if after a year I don't like it, I can at least go to the PTA program. And that was 22 years ago.
So you clearly enjoyed it then. You're stuck at it.
I did. I did. It became extremely rewarding for me, and I'm one of those people that I like to see it and believe it. And when I was seeing the results that people were getting, particularly when I started to translate from doing just typical body work into more structural, postural analysis, things of that nature, where you were getting these long-lasting transformations and people really getting the results, that's when I was, all in on my chips and everything.
Love that. Love that. So how did you get into wrestling? Where does that fit into all of this?
That fits in again by accident. I grew up a massive professional wrestling fan. I live in the southeast of the United States, and that's just what you watch when you're eating dinner, type of thing. So, long story short of it, and I'm sure we'll talk about this down the road. When I was at the '08 Olympics, one of the doctors that was working with the team that I was working with had just recently got hired by WWE to be a doctor for them, but was still allowed to go to the Olympics. He knew I was a really, really big wrestling fan. So once we got done at the Olympics, he had told me that if they were ever going to be in the area and they needed a massage therapist, that they'd reach out to me. And I was lucky enough to work with them twice before they changed their I guess programming went with massage therapy. They went a different route as far as getting scheduled and so on and so forth. And so after working with them a couple times, I reached out to my mentor, who was one of the guys who taught me in school, because he was living in Tampa at the time. And in Tampa was FCW, which was Florida Championship Wrestling, which was the old quote unquote farm league for WWE. And I asked him, I said, do you know anybody who works there? Is there any way that I can kind of get involved? I was just interested in getting involved. And he said, no, but I have a guy that I taught after I taught you, who is now a professional wrestler, and he still lives in Charleston. And I was like, damn, I didn't know there was wrestling in Charleston. Yeah, I was very uneducated at that time as far as the independent wrestling scene and so on and so forth. So he put me in contact with him. He put me in contact with a promotion here locally. So I went to a couple of the shows just to watch to see if it's something that I wanted to have my business associated with. After a couple of shows, I reached out to the promoters and I said, hey, listen, I don't have any money to offer, but I would be more than happy to offer my services in the locker room if you guys would put my name on, my business name on the flyers. And absolutely, sure, we'll do that. Fast forward maybe 3 months, 4 months, they wanted to do a story angle with the guy who had introduced me to them. But in the state of South Carolina, you have to be trained and licensed before you can get within 6 feet of the ring. So they organized it to where I could go get trained. In exchange, I would do this little story angle with them. And when I was training, the guy who trained me had said, hey, you ever thought about being a referee? And I was like, no. And so he taught me kind of the basics, and I got involved with it. 3 or 4 months after that, he's like, you ever thought about wrestling? I'm like, well, hell yeah. I think every boy in their childhood has thought about being a professional wrestler. So I got trained, and I started my adventure of being an actual wrestler until I separated my shoulder. Freak little accident in training. It happens. And during that time, I kind of reassessed everything, and I knew that my livelihood was massage therapy. So there's no way that I really wanted to stick with the wrestling aspect of it. And I really enjoyed doing the referee aspect of it. So once I healed up, I just kind of, really focused on doing the refereeing stuff. And I still train as a wrestler. I just don't actually have matches or anything like that. But knowing how my mind works with the kinesiology and the biomechanics of how everything works, I can really effectively treat wrestlers really, really well, really, really quickly because I know how what to expect and everything. And I think that that's a massive win for them as well.
Yeah, to have that the actual kinesthetic experience as well as the intellectual knowledge and understanding and the 24 years of experience in the actual treatment room as well.
Hmm.
It sounds like you can blend such incredible things together to get them an incredible result, and be a huge asset to what they're doing. And it sounds like the connections that you've made along the way have made a big difference. Um, how did you get into the 2008 Olympics? Like, how did you were a therapist at the time? Is that right?
Yes.
And
Again, again, accident. Life is full of happy accidents. And the gentleman who trained me, who was one of my instructors, who became my mentor, Steve Church, he's written several books. He's very integral in massage therapy. He's gone on to greener pastures. He's far surpassed massage therapy in what he does now. Uh, Him and his former business partner had just recently back. I want to say this was summer of 2003, there was a minor league soccer team in Charleston that they had visited to drop off their flyers to say, hey, we're a massage therapy company. We would love to offer any of your athletes treatment. Of which, shortly after that, US Soccer came in to do an event there. They needed therapists. They hired them. Now, several years later, once I started working with them, that they had started to go out on more frequent trips with them as massage therapists for the teams. Steve was not able to go on one of the trips, and he wanted to see if they could, or they wanted to see if he could find a replacement or somebody that they could recommend. And he said, "Would you like to go work with U.S. Soccer?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And this was back in 2004, I believe. And so I was working with a lot of the youth teams at that time because they, even US Soccer themselves, weren't really sure how to utilize massage therapy at that time. So I got the opportunity to work with several youth teams. And then in 2000, I think it was late 2006, it was either late 2006 or early 2007. I got a message from US Soccer saying, "Hey, we had a massage therapist back out. Can you be in Richmond, Virginia tomorrow?" Absolutely. They booked my flight and they said, "You're going to be working with the full women's team." It's like, "Oh, wow, this is a huge opportunity." To which, following that, they gave me several other opportunities to work with them. Made a good enough impression throughout 2007, and then in the beginning of 2008, when they did the recruitment camp, 40 plus women out there trying to figure out who's going to be on the Olympic team. They had brought in five athletic trainers and four massage therapists, of which they were only going to take three athletic trainers and two massage therapists. So during that camp, I think it was the day before we left, I got a call. "Hey, I need you to come down to my room." It was the manager. "How would you like to go to the Olympics?" "Well, let me think on that." "Yes, sign me up." And that's how it happened.
and well, like, what was that experience like? What was it like being at that elite level on a global scale? Like, what did you learn from that?
So, not going into too many details, in one of my very first experiences with US Soccer with one of the youth teams, there was a lot of miscommunication. And I don't want to say that it came across as me like fanboying out or anything like that, but I really was excited to be there. And I was like, man, this is really just mind blowing. And I guess it kind of rubbed the team manager at that time the wrong way because, again, they didn't know what to expect. And I didn't know what to expect. And I wasn't really given any type of a script or anything like that. So when I came back from that, my mentor had sat me down and he said, you got to understand, like, you can't make this uncomfortable for the players and the team and everything. So from the future going on, you just have to realize that these are everyday people, and this is just their work. This is just what they do. And so I really went in with that mindset. So while I was doing the work and while I was working with the team, which the team became family at that point. It wasn't a, oh my God, that's a celebrity, they're on this giant billboard looking to the left. No, it's just that's somebody that I really can trust and work with. Um, but when you got those moments to stop, like we got to visit the Great Wall several times and go, holy crap, this is one of the wonders of the world that we're getting to trek. And, this is the defense mechanism against the Mongols how many centuries ago? Being in China itself, being in the Olympic Village, and just knowing that even though I'm not seeing them or I'm not within hand's reach, the amount of talent that's just there in that little area, holy hell. It was really mind blowing. And like I explain to people all the time, when I work with athletes at that caliber, it's so helpful to my everyday practice because I'm getting to see the results of what I do, whether they be good or negligent. I'm getting to see it in real time very, very fast. So I'm able to adapt. So when I work with the average everyday person, I become more efficient with them so that they get the results that they want. So it's a blessing like across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you've worked with elite level athletes from WWE to Olympic competitors. What would be a standout lesson that you've learned the role of bodywork in high performance recovery and injury prevention?
Be willing to sacrifice everything that you are expecting not to sacrifice. And what I mean by that is you think you're going into being just a massage therapist, but oftentimes you're way more than that. You're helping with so many different aspects of the team. There's times where, like, we would get done with an event and it was a 45-minute trek back to the hotel. Then we have to have post meal. Then everybody has to go get changed. Then we have to do 3 hours of massage starting at 11:30 at night. So we're not going to go to bed till 3 just to get back up at 6 in the morning because we have to go, do everything there. So there was that aspect of adaptability and understanding too that as much as we love what we do and as much as we think that we're helpful, we're not always helpful in the way that we think that we're helpful, if that makes any type of sense.
Yeah. In what ways, like what mistakes do you think people make in terms of they think that this is how they're being helpful and they're not? What ways specifically would you say?
I think from what I've seen in the past, not naming any names or any specific events or anything, people do learn things that they get very, very passionate about. And I think we have to understand that it's our responsibility to understand that the treatment that we do, although it may be very beneficial for a lot of people a lot of the time, it's not always going to be the answer. And that is not a knock on you or your abilities at all. There were several times where myself, I would work with a particular player. And then the subsequent days after that, they would request the other therapist. And it's like, man, did I do something wrong? Or did I offend them or whatever? And it wasn't that. They just needed to be with that other therapist for whatever. It could have just been a mental thing. It could have been, hey, he does this one thing that I just for the particularly soccer players, superstitions are crazy, and it just might be that, who knows? So you have to learn to have tough skin and realize that you're not always going to be the answer, and that's okay. And that doesn't make you any less of a good therapist.
Yeah. It's like having that heart of a servant to go, the purpose to being here is to help the athlete. And if I'm not the right person today, it's nothing personal. It's about the
Absolutely.
athlete's performance. So how can I help the athlete to have the best performance? Go and see that person if that's what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and that translates even down into the regular treatment level. If you have a client that comes in that wants a specific type of work that you're not the best at, refer them out because you want the best for that client no matter what. It doesn't matter that you quote lose income or whatever. They're going to thank you a lot more and probably refer you a lot more. So it's that little sacrifice that you don't necessarily think about, but clients are the most important thing for us, right?
That's exactly right. So, as a strongman competitor and sports therapist, obviously your personal training has influenced your approach to body work. What do you think massage therapists can learn from strength sports?
From strength sports just as a visual or strength training?
Both.
Okay. Um, Visuals, like for anybody who hasn't watched it, who might be watching this right now, if you haven't seen Strongman, it's stupid and brutal and crazy. And I still to this day get people like, why would you even do that? And my answer is, for me, it's the most functional thing that I've ever done, as far as it makes the most amount of sense. Because with the majority of this stuff, if not all of it, you have to learn how to engage your whole entire body, every single muscle that you have, to optimize the lift and to perform properly, versus just an Oli lift or just a bicep curl or something like that. So you from the visuals of it's mind blowing to see how the body can do it. Particularly, like, I'm of course in the lightweight class. So when you look at my weight class, I'm 5'7", 170 pounds. I'm a tiny guy. But when I walk with a yoke on my back that's almost 600 pounds, it's mind blowing to think about, like, how does that even work? How does that, what kind of toll does it take on the body? So if you're a therapist and you're watching, it makes you really, really think. And that's one of the things that I help teach in my sports massage therapy program for the AMTA, is we break it down of, like, look at this lift. What is the body doing right now? So that way you have a better understanding about that. When it comes to participating in quote sport, I'm just going to say strength training in general, because it doesn't have to be in a competition setting. It just has to be allowing yourself to be better than you were before. And I used to teach my students, when I taught at the community college, we would take one day where I would teach them certain movement activities, because I'm also a certified personal trainer. But it's very important to have control over your body, because the one question, I don't know if you guys get it asked in Australia all the time, but I get asked it all the time. Don't your hands hurt, or don't your hands get tired? I'm like, no, my low back and my legs, because of the leverage point. And if you don't have the training that can match up to that, if you don't know how to do a step out lunge, if you don't know how to do a squat hold, if you don't know how to do a plank, you're not going to be a very good massage therapist with longevity. So, um, sorry.
Who's this?
I don't know. Which one is this one? We have 16.
You have 16 cats.
Yes, that's
Uh,
Luna.
we've just had Luna has just, for those that are listening in, I don't think you heard anything, but Luna has just literally put their face right in the camera, and we just got a full shot. That's gorgeous. I love it.
She's a sweet girl.
Oh,
No, my wife is very passionate about rescuing animals, and all of ours are rescues in one form or another. So
so beautiful. You are clearly passionate about the work that you do and have a big heart for it, which is not something that you necessarily think of strongman, thinking about functional mechanics, etc. But then to have 16 cats in your house, there's clearly a lot of care that goes into everything that you do, not just in your career.
absolutely. And I mean, I knew, if funny enough, like we joke about this all the time. I grew up not being an animal person, not because I didn't like animals, but I felt that, like, the domestication of animals was kind of cruel to them when you think about it. Like, they're designed to live in the wild and do stuff. And then when we domesticate them, we kind of take that ability away from them. So for the longest time, I didn't want to have animals, because I kind of thought it was cruel. But no matter what, the domestication happens, and some of them are in predicaments where they're absolutely helpless. And I always knew from a very young age that I always wanted to help people, and I wanted to help. The best way I can translate it is that I wanted to help souls. Like, I wanted to just make a difference in the world. Like, I always had that in the back of my head. I didn't know how, I didn't know why. I get into massage therapy, it's there. I get into wrestling, it's a form of entertainment. It takes people away from their stressors for a day or so. When you go into physical training, supplementation, those help people. And then now the whole different level of working with animals as well. And I say working with animals, but just, taking care of the ones that we can and helping out where we can.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. You have a hashtag that is like, is it ref fit? Is that your hashtag that you
I,
have?
I, I have I have
You
two.
have two hashtags. Tell us
I,
about
I
your
have two.
hashtag.
So the first one was, when I started my business, Define Therapeutic Massage. It was kind of in the boom per se of social media. That's when Facebook was getting big. Um, I think I think Twitter kind of took off shortly after that. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But I knew that hashtags were a thing, And the lady who did my SEO for my website, she was very, very like, you got to get it on the ground floor of this. And I saw people hashtagging everything. And I was just like, man, what is something that I can come up with that would be ambiguous enough to make people go, what does that mean? And so I came up with Get Defined because my business is called Defined Therapeutic Massage. And I came up with that because I wanted people to understand that what you're going to get from this is therapy. It is the definition of therapeutic massage. This, like, there's no if, ands, buts about it. I don't know if you guys see this in Australia, but there's a lot of places here that like to take liberties with massage therapy,
Yes.
and we can get that phone call where they're like, "Oh, do you do full body?" I'm like, "Bro, yeah, this isn't like this." So I really wanted to take the guessing game away from people, so that there's no way that they could mistake that. So by coming up with the name Defined Therapeutic Massage, I wanted the hashtag Get Defined is like, hey, go to Defined Therapeutic Massage and get defined, but also it can be used as like get defined, figure yourself out, figure out who you are and like what you want out of this world. So it was kind of ambiguous in that. The second one is, as you stated, ref fit. And that came about during the time where I had separated my shoulder. Is I really knew at that point that I wanted to get 100% in on refereeing. And I was really, really, really freaked out at the time because I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to massage again. I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to referee again. But I wanted to do something that gave me, I guess you could say, an air of hope. And prior to that, I was doing CrossFit before I did strongman. And this is when like CrossFit was super, super big. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be a referee, I'm going to be the fittest referee that I know. And so I came up with a whole ref fit idea. And then that came into more of how do I say it? A mantra for me, just to kind of remind in my head. And then I would start doing social media posts where I would like say something positive or I would write something positive or whatever. And then I would put in the hashtag refit because then it became more of just this lifestyle. Like you don't have to be a referee to be refit. You don't have to be fit to be refit. Like it's just a mindset of always going one step further, always believing in yourself. You always have something that you can work on to make yourself better. So between the two, I mean, it kind of takes care of everything there. So
And again, it's that well-rounded approach of not just physically making sure that my muscles in gravity are doing well. It's also about making sure that my mind is being fed and looked after in all areas of.
absolutely. And because if we can't take care of ourselves and if we can't optimize ourselves, we're not going to do a very good job of taking care of others. So, with all the chaos in the world, with all the stuff that we personally have to deal with, like we have to take a lot. I joke with people all the time. I only work 3 days out of the week. I've created my schedule to be to where I only have to work 3 days a week. But when I do, I have to get up at 3 a.m. to get ready for work. And I don't have my first appointment until 8 o'clock. And they're like, why did you get up 5 hours early? And it's because, first and foremost, there's going to be at least an hour, if not an hour and a half of traffic. Welcome to South Carolina. But also, I do morning routines that really helps get my mind right and gets my body right and gets my spirit right for what I'm about to go into. And I don't think a lot of people, doing this for 22 years, 24 if you count school, not a lot of people go much past 3 to 5 years. And I think it's because they didn't understand the toll that it would take, not only on your body, but on your mind and on your spirit, because it's a lot to take in. So, and my wife also suffers from mental disorders. So she's got a lot of stuff that she handles, and I have to learn how to work with her. So there's a lot of moving parts that happen in my life that I think has been very helpful for me to learn. And I know for the average person who's not dealing with a fraction of the stuff that I'm dealing with, if they can go, oh, this will help me. And it's little things, and it doesn't cost money or anything. It's just taking that into account into your lifestyle.
And factoring that fitness, like you said, body, mind, spirit into and actually allocating time for that, having that discipline to go, this is, I mean, without it, like I said, or we'll often say you can't pour from an empty cup, but without it, you can't function at the best level that you want to be, which means you can't make the impact you want to make, which means that you can't create the results that you want. It's like, well, get up at 3. That's just
Yep.
how it is. Like, if I want to do all those things, I have to get up at 3 a.m. And that's definitely obviously in alignment with your values in order to be able to live that best life that you are doing and being such a role model for others as well.
Yes, ma'am.
You are a teacher and trainer as well. You said you do some classes for AMTA. Um, Tell us a little about your experience in teaching. What is it that you love about teaching?
The aha moment, point blank and period. So I taught at the community college in the massage therapy program for 7 years. And then I started teaching for the American Massage Therapy Association in the sports massage program, of which 3 years ago, I got tapped to write a program for massage for AMTA, about basically kind of like an intro class to what sports massage is, because a lot of people were taking the class and they didn't really understand what it was. So I wrote an intro class. Then well, prior to that, I wrote a professionalism class that, which is the one that you had taken, that I was just teaching at the local level here in South Carolina, and just really wasn't, uh, with the logistics of trying to find a place to teach and marketing and so on. It just wasn't really doing well. And then that's when I approached AMTA about doing it at the convention. And thankfully they were like, yeah, well, we'll give it a shot. So I was able to write that. And I love anytime I teach, seeing that student who might be reluctant at first, the one that's got their arms crossed, like, yeah, I got to take another one of these damn classes, to like when you say something and then now it goes to this, and then now it goes to this, and then now it goes to this, like that's what I like. It's like, I don't feel like I know it all, and I don't know it all. But if I can let your perspective change just enough to go, there might be a better way, or there might be an alternative if I get stuck in this situation, and really just broaden your mind, particularly if you're one of those people that have been in 20 plus years, where like, I can tell you right now, there's plenty of times where I see a class where I'm like, same thing. Okay, I got to do this class again. But if it's taught right and it's taught with a perspective, give me more. Like, I want to know more. I want to learn more, and I want to be a conduit to be able to pass information on. Like, the stuff that I learn half the time, I'll tell people, I'll preface it, I did not make this up. This is not information from me. This is from somebody who taught it to me, that I'm just passing back down the chain. And hopefully the telephone game doesn't screw it up.
Yeah. And I think that, so I was involved with a global online summit on the weekend, and there were people who've been in the industry teaching for 35 years. And I'm like, life goals, like I'm only 10 years out, but let's go. Like, this sounds amazing. What I loved about listening to their story was their curiosity. Not one person that I heard speak that I found engaging and loved was like, oh, yeah, I know this and I know this. They were actually really curious. And I thought,
Hmm.
if there was nothing else, what they shared was amazing. However, it was their curiosity that I think, when we can, as educators and as people who've been in the industry a long time, so masters in their craft, when you've been in this 20 years plus, you know what you're doing. Being
Hmm.
able to stay curious, I think that actually creates a huge impact for the people that we're working with and teaching.
Yeah. And, I talk about that all the time, not just from a massage therapy level, but just as a level like a global level. When you think about it, is, yeah, I might have believed something, or I might have understood something a certain way. But when there's new information that's presented, as long as it makes sense to me, I'll go with it. But it has to make sense to me, and I have to be able to see it in action and go, oh, okay, yeah. But I think there's a lot of people that they just get rigid, and they fall on their sword, if you will, about certain things, that's it. This is the only way it's done. And the one thing that I use kind of as a safeguard to people all the time is, you have to understand, the human body is super complex, and we as human beings in general are 100% different all the time. Like, there's nothing, when it comes to supplementation, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to stretching, when it comes to recovery, you and I are going to be extremely different. So what do? I can show you things that work for me, and then I can show you other things. You try them. If they work, great. Keep doing them. If they don't do them. It doesn't matter that you read a research that says, I got to do this all the time. If it's not working for you, stop. I yelled at my mom one time because she kept on taking sleeping pills because she was prescribed sleeping pills because she has problems sleeping. And she'd been taking them for, I don't know how long, years. And I went over there one night and she's like, I got to take my sleeping pill. I'm like, Mom, do these work? Well, no. Then why do you still take them? Well, it's because my doctor said, but if it's not working, stop taking it, So, um, so yeah, I mean, it's just opening your mind up to that idea of like, hey, I'm not going to be the fix all. I'm not going to know everything all the time. And that was a valuable teaching lesson that Steve Church gave me when I started teaching, because in my first year teaching, I was terrified, absolutely mortified that I wasn't going to have the answer. Because what if they ask me about this? He's like, then if you don't know it, just say you don't know it. It's okay. You're not going to know everything all the time. Just like if our clients ask us about something, you know what? I don't really know about that, but I'll go back and I'll do some research and I'll try to find out the best answer that I can for you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying that. So I think that's where you see super successful massage therapists and not a successful massage therapist is when they start changing that mind of, okay, I'll be open up. And like we said before, maybe I just have to refer them out to somebody else who knows a little bit more.
Yeah. And like the statistics go in the favor with that in terms of therapists who get sued less, therapists who
Mm-hmm.
get complained about less, and therapists who create great results with their clients are not afraid to open up their book and say, I don't know yet. Let me go and find out. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
actually, that line is one of the precursors to having great rapport, getting a really good result, and not getting into trouble. Whereas people who
Yeah.
go, "Oh, I know or I don't, just like I said, that hard and fast are actually more likely to open themselves up to problems. And the statistics are on our side in terms of just be curious. You know?
Yep.
Is that Ted Lasso? Be curious, not judgmental. Is that one of his quotes? I love that quote.
I've never watched it, so I'll take your word on it.
Oh my goodness. If you were ever going to invest in a TV show, Ted Lasso is when you said that soccer players are often very superstitious. There was a particular episode that came to mind, literally. I'm like, you have to watch. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Fair enough.
Just again, Ted Lasso for life.
It'll be on the list.
All right. So if someone's listening to this and they are an up and coming sports therapist, and they want to break into the sports world, what advice would you give them?
Start with what you know. And this is so I had neglected to say this earlier. 2 years ago, we were tapped by AMTA, myself, and two other gentlemen, Mark Capriotti and Matt Gavsky, to basically rewrite the whole entire program. So we have rewritten the program. It's a hell of a long process, but one of the things that we focus on is exactly what you're talking about towards the end of like, how do you get involved now? Because now we've given you a lot of really good information. My best answer is a lot of it has to do with luck, like how I got to the Olympics. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time by the right person. It happened. I didn't physically go out and call US Soccer and be like, hey, do you need anybody? I was referred, and then I did really good work, not just in massage, but the other things that I had talked about. But when it comes down to the like, how do I really dig my feet in? And it's start with what you know. For me, at the time I was doing CrossFit. So guess what? A large demographic of my clientele was CrossFitters because I understood the movements. I understood what was required of the lifts. I understood. So it was easy to start using those things that we teach in the sports massage program because I already knew that. Now, my story is a completely different type of thing because when I first started doing massage, like sports style massage therapy, I was working on the weekend warrior who ran marathons here or there. Great. Hey, would you like to go work with US Soccer? Yeah, sure. Have you ever played soccer in your life? Nope. Don't even know what it is really. But crash course, I even went out and bought the book Soccer for Dummies just so I could have a better understanding of at least what was required. And I would watch clips here and there just to kind of understand. But the big thing is that I sat there at every practice and at every game, and I watched the body mechanics of every single player to understand what was required of them. So that way, when they came at me, boom, there's there. So start with what you know. If you're thrown into a situation that you don't know it, study the hell out of it. Become the best you can at knowing those type of requirements.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I mean that's good advice for everything really. And it is what I hear when there's a big push in our association here in Australia to get much more therapists at elite sport levels. So the association is doing what they can to get therapists in, and that's what we hear. It's like just be there,
Mhm.
just be present, learn about the sport, know about what it is. We interviewed a lady who worked with the elite swimmers, and she's like, I just didn't like smelly people. So I love working with the swimmers, and I love that. I think it's fantastic. It's like take
So
them to
she
love.
she likes chlorine.
Yeah, exactly. She's much happy with that. No sweat. This is gold. Let me at them. And yeah, I think it's great advice. And when we're present and there, when you show up, you're more likely to find opportunities that will, actually find you in
Yeah,
powerful and fun ways.
and we talk about that all the time in the professional wrestling world. There's a lot of wrestlers that want to get onto shows or work for promotions, and they can message them all they want. They can put up highlight reels and stuff like that. But until you go there and meet the person face to face and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll help you set up the ring, or I'll help you put up the chairs, or whatever I can do to help you," and then in return, be like, "Oh, well, this guy does actually want to be a part of it, so maybe let's give him a chance and just see." So it's really just like you said, being present. But you also never know what's going to happen. I had in my second year in massage therapy, I had somebody contact me. Hey, I'm an NFL football player. Okay, come on in. Like, and again, I don't really watch a lot of football. I don't really watch a lot of sports, period. But you know what? I'm willing to give it a shot. If they're willing, and I preface that to them too. I don't know everything about what you're doing, but if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you. If you can answer some questions, I can help treat you the best way that I can.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Jarrod, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you taking that time out of your very busy schedule to be able to connect with us today. So thank you so much for your wisdom, your experience, and just for your heart, for the passion that you have for what you do. And yeah, thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
No, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much. And I guess now I'm international, right? Technically.
Exactly. You are international. When are you coming to Australia, man? It'll be good fun.
I'd love to.